Hello wild people, welcome to AK Wild One. You're tired, cranky, dirty, and after a long day on the trail, your normal, sunny disposition has surrendered to feelings of hopelessness. How will you ever regain your mental edge? Well, you've come to the right place. Today I'm going to offer you 9 tips for keeping your mental edge on a long distance hike. Hey everyone, this white spruce tree is the matriarch of the forest. I estimate that this tree is perhaps 200 years old, and that would mean that it was around the time Andrew Jackson was president. And it lived before the time that the Russians made their first voyages to Alaska. It's been through the American Civil War, 2 world wars, and it might live as old as 300 years, through the computer age and the changes brought about by artificial intelligence. This spruce has weathered storms, winters that have dipped to perhaps 60 below, strong winds, drought, fire, spruce bark beetles, squirrels, and many other challenges. I have no idea how deep or how far its roots extend into the ground. Many other white spruce trees in the forest that seemed equally strong have fallen. I think this old tree serves as a great metaphor for the qualities, particularly the mental qualities, you want to cultivate to stay strong on a long distance hike. This tree has patience, resilience, flexibility, and it just keeps reaching toward the sky. Today I have 9 tips I'd like to share with you that might help you develop or maintain the mental resilience needed on a long distance hike. This is part 1 of the series. Next week I'll share a few other ideas I have for maintaining your mental edge on the long distance hike. These ideas were not revealed to me through a mystical experience or from a hiking shaman who appeared on a misty summit, but rather through my own struggle to keep a positive, even-keeled attitude on the trail, even during difficult moments. Okay, so here we go. Tip number 1. Focus on getting in shape. We know the body fuels the mind, so it's important to focus on the things that require human effort, such as eating well, training well, staying hydrated before you begin a long-distance hike. This will help make your transition to the trail less stressful. Spend more time putting in the work to prepare for a long-distance hike. A lot of hikers obsess about their base weight, but my view is you'll figure out how to dial in your gear during the first 100 miles. So that's not where I put my emphasis. Get started on your conditioning, building your trail legs and core strength. No amount of mental training will help you if you're a physical jellyfish on the trail. Build competence and conditioning before setting out on the trail. Doing so will help sharpen your mental edge. Tip number 2, have a strong why. A why is the resonating reason you are hiking the trail. It should be personal, tangible, and reasonable. For my why, I wanted to recover my health, to connect with my inner badass, or even to see if it was still there. I saw people around me getting sick or otherwise unable to do the things they once loved. I had this sense I was living on borrowed time, that at any second my health could take a turn for the worse. I had this urgency to complete a grand adventure before something got in the way. For your why, write it down, recite it, and knead it into your heart each morning. For some, it might be to develop outdoor competence. Others might be hoping to draw some sense from a hardship they experienced. For others, it might be the answer to a nagging question. For myself, I still have a desire to feel like I'm firing on all cylinders, but I want to leave a record that my kids can remember me by. A strong why helps sustain you through hard times on the trail. Tip number 3, know thyself, especially your limitations. Think strategically and adjust to the realities of the trail. Have an honest sense of your abilities and don't fixate on the notion of a through hike to the point you neglect your personal safety. If you have to skip a dangerous section, then do it. You don't have to apologize or prove yourself to anyone. And always be thinking ahead. Last year, shortly before we ascended Muir Pass, I read about a hiker who was in agony because he was post-holing on the downhill side of Muir Pass, going north. So we made sure to hit the pass early in the morning, and the same thing happened with river crossings. When the heat of the day took its toll on us in Northern California, we started early in the morning and planned early siestas near water sources, and then continued hiking in the afternoon. Adjust to the realities of the trail. Work with the cards that nature deals you. Tip number 4, keep your sense of humor. When life deals you a plate of chicken poop, make chicken salad. Try to find humor in difficult situations. One thing I discovered by the end of the trail, the people who were still in the game were inherently stubborn and also had a sense of humor. You don't see many whiners at the end of the hike. As I mentioned, we ran across a southbound hiker who tried to strike fear in our hearts in Washington about all the blowdowns. And he was right that there were substantial blowdowns on the trail. But he underestimated our resolve and ability to overcome obstacles. We viewed the blowdowns in Washington as puzzles that needed to be solved. By this time, the only thing that was going to stop us was a fire, which is what happened 30 miles from the border. Oh well, life goes on. Tip number 5, stay humble. As I walked through the Sierra and Yosemite sections, I often thought about how I would probably never pass this way again, and I should just savor the moments. I was thankful to all the people who were inspired enough by the PCT to fight for its existence. People such as John Muir and Robert Underwood Johnson, who is the editor of the Century magazine, both of whom battled to save Yosemite. Many other people also. Tip number 6, search for silver linings. When things get tough, look for silver linings or a way to put a positive spin on a bad situation. When I had a bad day, a tough day, I found happiness in the fact that on the PCT I recovered my health. And most people I knew my age back home were just drinking beer and watching television on the couch. When things got tough, I imagined I could be in a terrible situation, which for me is on a treadmill in a city or stuck in traffic. I realized that there were at least 1 billion people on Earth who would have gladly traded places with me. Tip number 7, embrace the suck. I'll admit 2023 is a whole different animal on the PCT. During 2022, I never really worried about the intrinsic dangers of the trail because the rivers were low and the mountain passes in the Sierra were mostly snow-free. I did worry about the desert heat and the occasional bear, but if I were hiking this year, I would have many stressful concerns, so please see tip 3 again. Embrace the suck for me means the following. Enjoy the difficulty of hiking yet another pass. Relish the fact that you can still climb mountains. Find joy in breathing deeply. Find joy in every morning your health is good enough to begin your hike. Tip number 8, focus on baby steps when the going gets tough. When I hiked Mount Whitney, the last 1,000 feet were tough for me. So I challenged myself to hike 50 steps before a rest. And then I used that method often, counting steps to 50 or 100 when ascent was difficult. Slow, tangible progress is better than no progress at all. And tip number 9, be kind to yourself. If you have a bad day, don't use the nuclear option on yourself. For example, if you're struggling through the day, don't tell yourself you're a complete loser who will never amount to much. Limit the damage and just admit you had a bad day, and chances are you'll be stronger in the morning. Tell yourself, okay, today I sucked, but I've had good days and they'll return. Forgiveness comes with the dawn. Give yourself some grace. Remember, once you get to the top of a pass, that's one less pass you'll have to climb. I hope you find some of these ideas useful. I'll admit, I put more time into preparing psychologically for the trail than I do focusing on such things as base weight. On the trail, oftentimes it's just you and your thoughts. So it's important to get the screws in your head aligned and tightened. And so, my friends, I'll continue my conversation with this white spruce here and see what I can learn. Until we meet again, live wildly, my friends.